So let's just see some of the crazy things that have been going on in comedy. Now, one of the things that people always say to me is, "Oh, Richard, all you do is dunk on the libs, and all you care about is owning the libs, and college campuses aren't that important." I've never heard such fucking nonsense. By the way, anybody who says what is happening on college campuses in America and the UK isn't important is an idiot because, for example, how many prime ministers has Britain had that didn't go to like Eton or Oxford or Cambridge, right? Like the educational elite go on to be politicians, go on to be doctors, go on to be people, media people, journalists, editors, broadcasters. They go on to be the people that have the most profound cultural impact. So anything that you can see, what 5 years, 10 years, you can see what the crazy is going to be by looking at what's happening on campuses, and it should be terrifying to all of us. Now, when it comes to comedy, this is no surprise, right? Like, you've had people like Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock say they don't do college tours anymore. They will not go to colleges because it's just not worth it, because they just get booed and heckled whenever they make an even vaguely edgy joke. It's just, it's just rude. So everybody says, oh, Richard, you're always trying to dunk on the libs or whatever. Like, I mean, no, I just like to dunk on stupidity and what's going on campuses when it comes to comedy, which is obviously it ties into all the other stuff I talk about free speech and everything else. But it is getting ridiculous now. I mean, it is getting ridiculous now, and it is starting to not be on campuses. I'm sure we've all followed Louis C.K.'s comeback. Anyway, here's one story that you'll probably enjoy, I'm sure. This was a comedy club that excluded a white comedian from participating in the shows because he had dreadlocks, and apparently it was cultural appropriation. And this is in Montreal. Now, for those of you who don't know, by the way, there is an assumption among Americans and Canadians, because I'm just going to say something, it's going to upset you all. Dear America, okay, especially you, America, I get it. You've been around for 200 years or whatever. You're feeling pretty, spry. You're feeling like you have a culture. You don't. There is a history way beyond what you give a fuck about. There has been, there has been a history way before you were a twinkle in anyone's eye. And you need to get with the fucking program that what you think you know about history isn't history at all. And you need to stop this cultural imperialism and imposing it on the rest of the world. Because you think dreadlocks belong to black people. And I'm a Celt. And let me tell you, we were rocking fucking dreadlocks and hacking people to death thousands of years ago. Can I not have dreadlocks? I mean, I can't because I'm bald as a fucking plucked chicken, but could I not be true to my ancestral roots? Dreadlocks are not a Rastafarian hairstyle exclusively. Dreadlocks, yeah, Vikings had dreads. Celts had dreads. I imagine the Picts, the Visigoths, the Goths, the Huns, all of the Germanic tribes had dreads. Right? It is not a exclusively black hairstyle, and the hairstyle does not belong to one culture. Not one culture in history can lay claim to the dreadlock hairstyle. Okay? Okay. That's history lesson number 1 for you, America. Now stop. I mean, apart from the fact cultural appropriation isn't even a thing, it's not real. It's something you've made up to attack people and to sow division and to promote your all precious victim status. It is gibberish. You cannot steal a culture, right? That is like the maddest thing ever. Like, what if I go into my fucking kitchen and cook up some delicious Wiener Schnitzel? Did I just steal all of German culture? Or do I just like sausages? I don't know. You tell me, right? But anyway, this is a comedian that got banned from having dreadlocks. A hairstyle wrongly associated with black culture, I will add. Black cultures have it. White Western cultures have it. Classic historical cultures have it. Before Christ, BC. And anyway, he was banned from attending this comedy club at a bar, and they put a statement out explaining why he was banned, saying, "We will not tolerate any discrimination or harassment within our spaces." And they added that the club is a safe space free from any link to oppression. Then this publication here reached out to I'll just read you this quote. Where it says, the comedy club understands that the comedian's intention isn't racist, but it said the hairstyle conveys racism, adding cultural appropriation is not a debate or an opinion. It is a form of passive oppression, a deconstructive privilege, and above all, a manifestation of ordinary racism. So there you go. If you have dreadlocks, according to the average American, the average Canadian on campuses these days, doesn't matter what your cultural heritage is, or why you have the hairstyle, or what your intention are. Black people have had dreadlocks, ergo, if you as a white person have dreadlocks, you're racist. The end, case closed. That's it. And it's not a debate. You'll also notice they don't have debates or discussions anymore. There's right and there's wrong, and whatever they say is right is the side you need to be on, or you can't even go on a campus these days. So then Greg Robinson, a professor from the campus that fully endorsed this, said he is a professor who specializes in black history, said that having dreadlocks is the same as blackface, which is when white performers darken their face to do racist caricatures of black people. White people would dress as black people to mock them, he said. And he said, it's like the N-word. Black people can use it in their community, but when someone from outside uses it, even if they want to be like black people, there still remains an aspect that is rooted in history. That's a professor talking, ladies and gentlemen. So okay, all right. Comedians, they can't have haircuts that are deemed racist. Don't know how a haircut can be racist. I simply don't. I mean, maybe if you shaved a swastika into your head, maybe then. But dreadlocks are off the table, apparently. So get with the picture, whitey. All right, then. Well, what about this? I'm sure you heard about this one. It was towards the end of last year, or maybe you were out there doing the Bird Box Challenge. There was this thing that happened at Columbia University. Again, Columbia University is a very respected institution, right? There was a comedian called Nimesh Patel, and he came to a cultural event on campus at Columbia, organized by the Asian American Alliance. And basically this was meant to promote American Asian culture and showcase American Asian talent. So here comes a comedian, and he made some jokes, and the people in the audience didn't like the jokes. They were too offensive, apparently. So partway through his set, after being booed and heckled and people and women shouting at him, and then the people who invited him came up on stage and unplugged his mic and said, you've got to go. It's tech problems. They tried to avoid confrontation because they're pussies. They didn't even have the courage to stand by their ludicrous principles. They pulled him off stage. So let's just assess the situation. This is the Asian American Alliance silencing an Asian American comedian at an event he'd been invited to because they didn't like what he had to say. Okay, but Richard, what did he say? Surely he went mental. He must have said something unbelievably crazy, right? So here's what he did. He made a joke, and this was the joke. He said, here's how you know being gay isn't a choice. He said, because there are gay black people. And you can't tell me that in modern America, a black person gets up and goes, this being black is too easy. I think I'll be gay as well, just to ramp it up a bit. So that obviously that's a funny joke, and in no way is that racist or homophobic, right? That's a straight fire joke. That's considering this is effectively an amateur comedian. That's pretty good material. I like that, right? I mean, you could picture that coming out of Louis C.K.'s mouth or somebody like that. That's a good joke. Richard Lewis approves. 2 thumbs up. Anyway, they said that joke in particular is where it started. Okay, that was where they had an issue with him. And then any material afterwards, basically any material afterwards, after that point, he didn't get to listen. So they actually put up a statement. They didn't want to listen, rather. They actually put up a statement on Facebook, which I'm not going to expand it there because it's going to fuck up the thing, but I am going to open it and read it to you. So they said it was a great event, thanks to everyone who's invited. But now we want to address the performance of Nimesh Patel. His remarks did not align with the mission and message of Asian American Alliance and Culture Shock. I mean, imagine calling your event as well the Culture Shock, and anything even vaguely shocking has to be censored out of it. No problem. Asian American Alliance stands for the political, social, and personal empowerment of Asian Americans, as well as other marginalized groups. We seek to explore and understand Asian Americans' places within current and historical political discussions in order to organize in the most effective way that we can. Culture Shock is a celebration of identity and a space of inclusion. Patel's remarks ran counter to the inclusive spirit and integrity of Culture Shock, and as such, the choice was made to invite him to leave. We acknowledge that discomfort and safety can coexist. However, the discomfort Patel caused was unproductive in this space. We ourselves are still processing the events of Culture Shock and maintain different perspectives on it even within our organization. We invite and welcome dialogue. That being said, we deeply apologize for inviting him and bringing these comments into a space for inclusion and acceptance. We apologize for the hurt his words caused members of the community. We also apologize for being inarticulate as we invited him to leave and that we fell back on an excuse that implicated learner tech. That was what they said. It was a tech problem. They apologize for that. So they, as I said, that joke to me is hilarious. It's actually challenging bigots and their views, and enforcing what is now the dominant cultural acceptance that obviously being gay is biological and not some sort of choice that you can engage in. So I really find it hard to understand what the problem is. But I don't need to dig too deep into it because, obviously, far be it from me to suggest that these precious little idiots who go to college and they think because their daddies are paying for it. By the way, anybody at a college like Columbia is privileged. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white. You're wealthy enough to attend. So you're privileged. You're certainly more privileged than 99% of America by attending a university of that stature. So they do this because they want their little moment. You see, what happens is when you're a victim now, when you're oppressed, even if it's fictitious, they put a spotlight on you. They listen to what you have to say. You get to have your little moment in the sun and talk about how terrible it is. And that's what it's all about. It's about attention and feeling way more special than you actually are. So one of the people who went to that event actually wrote an op-ed in the college paper explaining why they felt that the event was shocking and why he should have been removed. So it is. Spilling the tea on Nimesh Patel. Let me just get to the good bit, the bit that'll probably blow your mind. The atmosphere. So it talks about after he made the joke. Thanks for the sub there, Ruin Music. 70 months in a row. Appreciate it. Yes, spilling the tea. I don't know why they didn't just say spilling the beans. Why does it have to be tea? Is there a racial connotation with beans now that I need to be fucking mindful of so I can stay fucking woke? I don't fucking know. But spilling the tea. Spilling the tea. Right? You know, oh, you see, well, we can't say beans because third world people have been made to pick beans. Well, they were made to pick tea as well. Yeah, but I drink tea in my privileged background, so it's fine. I don't fucking know, mate. I don't know why it's called spilling the tea. But anyway, talks about after he made the joke, and he goes, the atmosphere throughout the remainder of the routine was uncomfortable with a few occasional laughs. While it's normal in stand-up to pick an audience member to dialogue with, Patel just kept returning to the same girl to ask her painfully drawn-out questions as if he were mining material for a routine he had not prepared. By the way, can I just say this? Here's a rule for everybody. If you go to a comedy club and you heckle the comedian, it's fucking on. I've worked comedy clubs. I've done stand-up. Let me tell you, if you fuck with my act, right, you are the act now. You wanted the attention, so guess what's fucking happening? We're going to talk about you until you shut the fuck up or leave. Whatever happens first. That was always my attitude to dealing with fucking hecklers. And you won't find a fucking comedian that says different. You know? What you do is, if you have to establish dominance, right? Like being first day of prison. If a heckler is going to shout stuff out and they think they got better material than you have to engage with them a little bit. You can't ignore a really disruptive, loud heckler. You got two choices. Like Louis C.K. deals with it in a very dismissive way. Like once you've made it as a comedian, security will just come over and throw them out. You don't need to worry too much about it. But he'll always just go, listen, motherfucker, I'm sorry you think this is an interactive show, but it isn't. Nobody paid to listen to you. They paid to listen to me. So shut the fuck up. And then everyone will go, woo! Since Louis C.K. is established. Now, you can't say that in a comedy club. You can't say that down in the comedy clubs where it's 20, 30 people, 50% of the audience are other comedians just waiting to get up on stage and do their bit. Everyone's licking up drunk. You know, you got to get in there and start hard. And if a fucking, in a college, you know, again, I've done college gigs. If you do fucking stand-up and there's somebody in the audience who's immediately disruptive, tearing down the material, saying you're offensive, they're probably not going to shut up unless you make them. So to make them, you engage with them, right? You want the attention. Let's do it. Oh, so what's your problem with it then? You ask them questions and then you start tearing down their shit and you keep bagging on them and bagging on them and bagging on them till they either leave, until they get so rambunctious, security has to come in and intervene. But at that point, yeah, the set is ruined. The set is ruined by the heckler. The comedian, by the way, he was signed up for a 45 to 1 hour set. That's unreal. That's HBO special levels of material. So he had material planned. If you just didn't like that one joke, he would have moved on to another. But no, you had to talk. And now it's like, well, listen, you're disrupting the whole flow of a 1 hour pre-prepared show. Yeah, you're getting it. You're getting both fucking barrels off me. That's any comedian would have done the same. And trust me, if you're not ready, by the way, to even be part of the show, don't go to comedy clubs. Because if you sit in those first few rows, or you're even on like just a small audience, sometimes to warm the room up, you got to work the crowd. Like maybe you come in, you do your first bit, it doesn't quite land, so you immediately go to doing warming up the crowd. You do crowd work, and you're like, so what do? You know, you'll see Frankie Boyle do this all the time. Frankie Boyle knows he's going to say some unbelievable, shocking shit that is going to upset anyone. So what he does by doing the crowd work, the psychology of it, the mechanics of it, why you do it is you pick on the audience directly. And so you say, hey, I'm breaking your balls and you didn't find that offensive, so don't find the stuff I do after offensive when it's about somebody else. Right? You sat through me breaking your balls. Anything goes here. Anyone's a target. That is the psychological message that you are imparting to the audience. Everyone's in the firing line, and it relaxes people, you know? So that's why you do crowd work like that. And yeah, Patrice, exactly. Yeah, Patrice O'Neill. You know, seriously, like, again, there are people that are masterful with a crowd. Like Bill Hicks never had to deal with hecklers, because what Bill Hicks would always do is he would just have moments where he would just stand and just go quiet, and you can even see him sometimes he'd click. He's thinking of his next bit, like where he wants to go with it, and he just commanded so much respect from his audiences. Generally, he never had to engage with hecklers. Now, there's one famous video where he went absolutely crazy. I can't even play the video on Twitch. It's that bad. One drunk woman in the audience is saying "Free Bird." She wants music, and he goes fucking nuts. He really loses it, and he's calling her a cunt and saying, "Why don't you fucking get out of here? You fucking go somewhere good." You know, like he's screaming at her. But the point is, after that set, after she's removed, after her boyfriend leaves, after everyone else is gone, and the only people who are left in the room, like 14, 20 people who want to listen to Bill Hicks, he does a killer set. So he very rarely lost it. That's like a unique skill to just be commanding. But guys like Patrice O'Neal, they just did crowd work like anybody. Like, they were just so good at that. They come in, they ingratiate themselves, they bust everyone's balls, they lighten up the room, they lighten up the mood. Yeah, great. There's two ways of doing it. So anyway, yeah, and sure, I'm sure Patrice had a lot of his material. Like, look, when you're on the road touring and doing comedy, hecklers don't say original shit. So you have to have, if you're a good comedian, like George Carlin did it, you have to have a series of responses. If they heckle you on this ground for that joke, you have this comeback. And obviously you have pre-prepared stuff up there. That's the art, by the way. The art of being a comedian. Sure, you can be quick on your feet and hilarious, but more often than not, the art is making material look like, making material you've said 1,000 times before, every day, for however many years when you're on the road. You make it feel fresh. You make it feel unique to that audience. You make it feel unique to that space. You make it look like it's coming off the top. That's a big part of it, like having that natural demeanor where you're saying something again and again and again, but nobody would ever know it was rehearsed. Like, truly great comedians do that. But yeah, like honestly, like, if you're ever worried about being made fun of, the worst place to be is a comedy club. That's the gig. That's how it works. So again, these people at campuses, it's like you don't even understand because you've never done anything with your lives. You don't even understand the basic premise of a comedy club and how it works. And, you want to try. I've said it before. Like, I've done work in men's clubs and, but people are there to drink. They don't want a comedian. You want to try, you want to fucking try. Like, seriously, this is why I always think, like, if I ever got mugged, I could probably talk my way out of it. Because when you've done a working man's club and they're all just there, they've had a miserable day, they don't want to hear your jokes. And then the fucking compere gets up on stage and goes, and now, everybody, 20 minutes from Richard Lewis. He's a very funny comedian. Give him a round of applause. And it's just deadly fucking silent. You can hear the glasses clinking. Like, people are just looking at you. You get up and you have to do a bit. Like, if you can get them on board and get them laughing and get them listening, you're fine. Like, you're going to be, So anyway, back to this. While it's normal in stand-up to pick an audience member to dialogue with, Patel just kept returning to the same girl to ask her painfully drawn-out questions as if he were mining material for a routine he had not prepared. Yes, you are worthy of future material. You guys are clowns. You guys are jokes. Yes, that is correct. He's going to go to a real comedy club and not on a campus, and he's going to talk all about you and how stupid you are. And he very quickly identified, this is going bad. I need to get something out of this. I probably won't even get paid for my time, because that happens if you're not funny enough or if you get pulled early. I may as well get some material. He asked another audience member personal questions about their parents in a room full of strangers. Imagine this. Imagine. So what's your name? Okay, Chris. What do your parents do? Oh God, I've crossed the boundary. I've crossed the threshold at the comedy club. To me, his routine was strangely obsessed with black people. Imagine that. Imagine a college campus student where everything is about race, and you think he's obsessed with black people. The comedian, not the people who think cultural appropriation is real. Not the people who won't let you have dreadlocks. Not the people who do this. Real journalism. Right? Because you can't clap. He's obsessed with black people. The comedian with material. His routine was strangely obsessed with black people. My favorite part being when he questioned why there was so much online outrage that black actors weren't nominated for the Oscars in 2016, but not for Asian actors. Patel's anti-blackness jumped out. The hashtag was Oscars so white, not Oscars not black. Yeah, but I don't remember any Asian actors coming out and talking about that. No, I didn't see the bit. I didn't see the routine. I don't know how funny it is. But, it also, the premise of the show was it was the American-Asian Alliance. So by putting that material in there, you're saying, hey, what about us? Right? So, just saying. Okay, cool. His blatant anti-blackness, I mean, that's all it takes to be anti-black. leads me to the most talked about part of the performance. The joke went like this. Patel came to the stellar realization that being gay can't be a choice because no one looks in the mirror and thinks this black thing is too easy. Let me just add another thing to it. To a non-black, non-queer person, it might be novel. But if you're black and gay, you don't need a straight South Asian guy to point out that your life is hard because you're black and gay. That's not insightful. It's painfully unoriginal. Never heard the joke before, actually. I'd say it's original. Or maybe painfully original. I wouldn't choose to live with homophobia while facing racism has crossed the minds of queer black people, probably in a moment of distress or when faced with homophobia in their own community. This is the issue with telling jokes about other people's identities. It's hard to grasp the intricacies of a life you haven't lived. Yeah, I'm sure the Asian man living in America has never experienced racism. I'm sure he literally, in the Oppression Olympics, I'm sure he's like easily knocking on the fucking door, down here. He's doing fine. No one's ever made any stereotypes about Asian guys. No one's ever said that they run corner shops or drive taxis or all eat curry or anything like that. No one's ever said anything like that about Asian Americans. No, I mean, what would he know about racism? He can't possibly comment on it. It's hard to grasp the intricacies of a life you haven't lived. Personally, I think comedians should be allowed to tell jokes about different communities. How very nice of you. But they often end up falling into cliche stereotypes or just predictable material. Almost as if, by definition, those are the ways you would get comedic effect out of anything. But what do I know again? Patel brought himself on stage to perform a tired joke. Again, completely new. People like it. The punchline being marginalized struggles about which he has no true insight. Some may argue that he was making a comment on society's racism and homophobia. He was. But for whom? I watched a brown man use the experiences of black people to make white people ponder and laugh while two of my gay black friends cringed. I don't give a fuck about your gay black friends, you fucking idiot. Like, okay, comedy, right, is right, when you've got an audience, you don't know who's in the audience. There's just random people come off the street, come to listen to some jokes, right? What are the chances of you finding the sweet spot where all your material crosses all economic, social, gender, race? It crosses all the boundaries, and it's just the holy grail of funny. It's funny to everybody without offending anybody. How is that possible? It cannot be done. By definition. So what you have to do is, that joke's a bit. Yeah, I said it about the Chris Rock special, right? The Chris Rock, not Chris Rock special, sorry, the Dave Chappelle special. The Chris Rock special wasn't all that funny, and he did anti-Trump stuff, so whatever. But the Dave Chappelle specials, when those two dropped, he did a bit which I didn't like. I didn't like it. He did a bit about transgendered people, and he said that they're gangsters because they're willing to cut their dicks off, and he said, and they go to the club and they trick people into having sex with them, and I was like, oh, please. Like, I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. I thought, actually, you're perpetuating a thought process that actually does get people killed, honestly. Like, being honest. That's what I thought. But you'll notice, I didn't tweet about it. I didn't get outraged about it. He's telling jokes. They're not all going to land. They're not all going to be for everybody. They're not all going to be funny. Some are going to be outdated and expose his mode of thinking. And at the end of the day, I understand contextually he's trying to make people laugh and poking fun at things he considers absurd. So I didn't, I hang in there and we get onto the rest of the material and it's straight fire. I didn't like that bit, but I don't think Dave Chappelle should be banned from comedy or shouldn't be allowed comedic specials. He made a joke. It didn't upset me. That would be pushing it too far. But I didn't like it. But that's the nature of comedy. You're not going to like it all the time. It's just how it is. So, people are saying Dave fell off, by the way. There's no way. Those two specials on Netflix, 95% of that material was straight fucking fire. The stuff about Bill Cosby, honestly, it was really, really good, talking openly about his experiences. That was pretty much the only bit where I was like, this is like really... It was like, okay, in the same way, you wouldn't want fucking Bernard Manning to come back and start talking about race relations. You would be... you probably don't want Dave Chappelle doing bits about trans people, honestly. Like, you just don't. It's not his... there's this weird undercurrent there. But, you know, like, at the end of the day, it's his material, and you have to understand when you go into a comedy club, people are going to say some shit. I mean, he might not even believe the shit he's saying. He might be trying to be deliberately outrageous. You never know. I would always say as well, never judge a comedian's personality and political outlook based on a set he did. Never do that, because what you say on stage and what you think off stage, very much two separate things. Then there was this. This is happening in Canada. This one, it's probably going to upset some of you, but I am on board with this guy, even though what he said is outrageous and probably upsetting. All right, come on. You can do it. You can do it, National Post. There we go. So this is a story about a comedian from Quebec called Mike Ward. And he has been hit with a $42,000 fine because he made a joke about a disabled boy. And I'm going to ignore the flashing, ignore the strobing. It'll stop. It's just when it loads the ads. Again, it's their fault for having ads on their website. But, yeah, fined $42,000 for a joke. So we'll get it. Here it is. Featured articles. Are we out? Are we out? Are we done? Come on, fuck me. How many ads on the National Post, dude? There's a lot of ads on the National Post, isn't there? I'm going to race it. I'm going to race you with fucking archive, dude. Right. Has it stopped flashing now? Okay, good as. Right. So yeah, here's what Mike Ward did. So Mike Ward was doing a bit, and he made a joke about a disabled kid called Jeremy Gabriel, right? And what was happening was this kid had, I don't know, like Teacher Collins syndrome, which is where your skull's all like fucked up, and it gives you really bad like facial deformities, and it's not a, you know, it's not a nice condition to have, basically, and typically it can lead to like infant mortality. Let me just see if I can find the guy. So anyway, yeah. So I'm not gonna bring up the. I won't bring up the kid. There's the kid. He looks good now. I mean, like, you know, he looks better than he used to. He's had some surgery or something. That's the dude there. That's Gabriel there. He's in the thing. So he's looking pretty good right now. I mean, honestly, like, I've seen guys who don't have Teacher Collins who look uglier than that. Just saying. But he's had. But anyway, so. Basically, what happened was, when he was really young, he was a singer, and he was singing with celebrities, because celebrities thought he was sick and he might die, you know, or whatever, and they wanted to do something nice, so he was going around. So Mike Ward did this bit about where he said, I'll just read you the bit. He said, and this is, just in case you thought it was recent, this is a bit from 2010. He did these jokes on his shows between 2010 and 2013. At best, this is 5 years old, and he's been fined $42,000 for doing it because it got discovered. So anyway, he said that people were only nice to him and letting him sing with celebrities because they all thought he was terminal and he'd soon be dead. And then he said, now that he's realized the child has lived a lot longer than anticipated, Gabriel must be invincible. And he said, and I know firsthand he's invincible because I tried to drown him, but he wouldn't die. Oh, God. So anyway, right. So what Gabriel, who's now 22, has said is that kids heard Mike Ward's jokes and made fun of him at school because of the jokes. As if kids wouldn't have made fun of you when you've got, like, I mean, kids are cruel, you know? Like, come on. Kids are cruel. Kids are cruel. So, anyway, they went to the Human Rights Tribunal in Quebec, and they ruled that Ward's joke violated Gabriel's right to dignity, honor, and reputation, as well as his right to equality and to be safe from discrimination. And the comedian got fined $42,000 and is now trying to appeal the process. Yeah, and look, and just in a statement, Gabriel said, I think comedians are doing propaganda to make people afraid about losing freedom of expression. I'm still living with the trauma that Ward's joke caused me. It's always with me. The joke stayed on social media and is in the consciousness of people who saw the shows. Meanwhile, Ward said he's not sorry. It's a joke. I haven't done the joke for 6 years. I wrote it 10 years ago. To bring a comedian to court who does dark humor for a trashy joke, it's like giving Vin Diesel a speeding ticket for driving fast in The Fast and the Furious. That's a pretty good analogy, actually. I find it disgusting that I'm here. I will keep fighting. So, I'm going to check Discord, do I? Why do I need to check Discord, Bren? What's happening? Have they got me? Oh, Streamlabs are doing their own OBS. Yeah, maybe. Maybe I'll give that a go. I'm a moron, though, Bren, so you have to understand that. I'm not a tech guy. Words, stuff like that. So anyway, let's loop all of this into Louis C.K., right? Louis C.K. Now, Louis C.K., you might remember he was in the news in, I think, was it 2017? Back when the whole Me Too thing was jumping off. And what Louis C.K. had done was several female comedians had come out and said that he had masturbated in front of them after asking if it was okay to masturbate in front of them. Stress that bit. And it sort of came out of, and like I said, when I was talking about the Gillette ad, and I am doing a scripted Gillette response, because I noticed immediately everyone gets hyperbolic. Well, if you don't like the Gillette advertisement, you're a rapist, and you're a man baby. And it's like, there are plenty of valid reasons to not like that advertisement, and there are plenty of valid reasons to like the advertisement. Let's understand that, yes, you can dislike that advertisement. I don't like it, but I'm going to do a very careful, measured response to it, and you know, no doubt that'll get broken down by people lisping and misrepresenting my argument. Can you believe this, guys? Can you believe this? Can you believe the things he's saying? I'm now going to make up things he didn't say and watch his whole video on my stream for content. So, yeah, cool. Great platform you've got, Twitch, with great people on it. Anyway. So, here's my view. Right? Louis C.K. ain't no fucking Harvey Weinstein or a Kevin Spacey. And he, listen, people said, oh, Richard, you shouldn't even be against Louis C.K. at all. Because what he did is just pathetic. It's not sinister in any way. The women consented. Okay, well, you have to understand that if I'm Louis C.K., and I remember Louis C.K. isn't just a comedian. He has a production company. He has a TV show. He gets HBO specials. He has connections to every comedy club in America. He has agents. He gets film parts, you know. He was in, what was it, Fargo with fucking Ben Affleck or whatever. Louis C.K. is a powerful player in comedy. And if you're a woman, and you're already facing some hurdles, let's say, in getting to play into places, and a powerful dude comes to you and says, "Oh, hey, we've been having a great party tonight. I want a nightcap. I just want to jerk off. Will you watch me jerk off?" And you you're like, well, he's not trying to fuck me. It's not that bad. It's not, I've seen guys jerk off before. It's not shocking to me. And maybe if I let him jerk off in front of me, like, maybe there's something in it for me. But then equally, the flip side is, if I say no, and I say, I don't want to watch you jerk off, Louis, what's he going to do? Is he going to tell his agents? Is he going to say, oh, she's a bitch? Is he going to talk about me behind my back? So naturally, what you would be more inclined to do for something that's ostensibly harmless to an adult woman, you would just say, yeah, sure, just beat it. Just beat your tiny little ginger dick off and I'm going home, okay? And you just watch it. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, you're firing jizz out. Brilliant, yeah. And he's, doing his fucking bit, right? Like, obviously, you would just fucking say, you would just, and people were saying to me, they were going, oh, Richard, you can't have a problem with that, man. What's wrong with you? You're not a fucking prude. Obviously, I'm not. But just put yourself into this position. You're a father, right? And you've got a daughter, let's say 23, right? And she's wants to be a comedian. And she's been doing pretty well. And she met Louis C.K. And she's actually been performing at the same comedy club as Louis C.K. And she comes home one night and she goes, Dad, can I ask you about this? Like Louis C.K.'s been like asking if I want to watch him jerk off, and I've been giving him the runaround. And he just wants me to watch. Imagine how you'd feel. You'd be like, this creepy motherfucker. Well, you telling me you wouldn't drive down there? You wouldn't have a word with him? Imagine it in any line of work. Imagine if your daughter came home from an office job and said, oh, my boss, there's a promotion up for grabs. My boss asked me if I want to watch him jerk off. You'd be fucking livid. You'd be fucking livid if you were a father. You know what I mean? And don't tell me different. Don't tell me different, because you're straight lying. Because if it's your kid, you'd do anything to protect your kid, no matter how old they are. And if some creepy dude is like dangling the enticement of power and reward to just watch him jerk off, you still would fucking want to have a word with that creepy cunt and tell him, listen, this is off limits. So he didn't do nothing. And if you think he did nothing, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Personally, I can only speak for myself. If there was a guy doing that, a guy in position of power over my daughter asking if she wanted, I'd have a word. Putting it nicely, I'd have a word. And I think he would go decide to ask somebody else after that word had happened. So that's me, right? Because I just think it's just like, you're just dealing with enough shit, aren't you, without fucking creeps. So anyway, we can't say Louis C.K. did nothing, but he certainly didn't commit rape. He didn't commit a sexual assault. He's not a sexual predator. What he is a fucking creep. And a penalty has to be paid for that, I feel. Now, he definitely paid that penalty. He inarguably paid that penalty. He lost his TV show. He got FX said they wouldn't work with him again. In the leaked bit we're going to talk about, he said he lost $35 million overnight because of that. Now, let me tell you, however sexually excited you are in the moment to jerk off in front of a fucking woman and just make them watch you jerk off, it ain't worth 35 mil. And I think if someone had whispered in his ear and go, Louis, this is going to cost you 35 mil, brother, this is going to cost you 35 mil. He probably just slides his tiny little sad little fucking member back into his old man wife fronts and walks out the room, right? And that's that, right? $35 million to jerk off in front of her quick. That'll thinking about that will take your fucking bone. Like, again, that is the whack with a cold spoon. Bonk. Oh, yep. I don't want to do this anymore. And out you go, right? And yeah, you might be right, actually, Casual Motion. That might be the most expensive wank in the history of humankind. Now, Louis C.K., keep in mind, he's not a sexual predator. He's not a rapist. It was consensual. It was just creepy. and he's paid $35 million for it. He tried to come back. Well, ever since he's tried to come back, motherfuckers are all over him. There was a report today. What they're doing now is, because of his behavior, they're scrutinizing his material, which is something they've never done before. And what they're doing this deliberate. You use Louis C.K., who you can easily make like a contemptible dude. You can just say, like, look at him. He's an overweight, bald, white guy who jerked off in front of women using power as the mechanic to enable him to do that. Obviously, you can make him sound like terrible, like an absolute despisable person, right? But here's today's story. This just keeps going on and on. This is in the Daily Beast. Louis C.K. jokes about sexually harassing women. And I'm like, he did that, did he? The joke was, I like to jerk off and I don't like being alone. That isn't the same thing. That isn't the same thing. He isn't joking about sexually harassing women, right? He's making a reference to what he did. Now, if you're like me, and again, you're a student of comedy, you remember when Richard Pryor had all of his problems with cocaine, shooting up a car, setting himself on fire. Like, Richard Pryor went fucking crazy. And then when he came back and he did his bit, the opening monologue, the next special he did after all of his problems, he talked about all of that. And he made it hilarious because he's Richard fucking Pryor. He's one of the fucking dons of comedy. So you have to talk about it. This is another thing. This is another component of comedy. If for any reason you're in the news or you become a ridiculous figure yourself, you cannot ridicule others and make fun of social conventions on a stage when everyone in the room is laughing at you because of something you did. You have to get the audience's buy-in by saying, hey, look, I make fun of myself too. So you have to. He can't not talk about it, right? So check this out. San Jose, California. I don't even know why you're bothering performing in that fucking state anymore, Louis. It's fucking... First of all, it is going to be the first American state to actually just descend into out-and-out anarchy. It is going to be like a John Carpenter movie over there. Just leave California alone. I'm dangerously close here in Nevada. But what I like about Nevada is we've still got good laws here. We got guns. We got whiskey. We can do what the fuck we want. We got freedom. We're all right, actually. When all y'all Californians want to come here and seek refuge, we're going to be like Rorschach whispering no. Right? We're going to be... We got it covered in Nevada. So... But fuck California. Fuck California, right? Like they said in that song, all the gold in California is in a bank in Beverly Hills. You know what I mean? Anyway, San Jose, California. When Louis C.K. stepped on stage to a standing ovation and a full house at a San Jose Comedy Club Wednesday night, he got right to the point. I like to jerk off and I don't like being alone. Simple and without a trace of apology. It got a good laugh. How off, like, okay. Louis C.K. did apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Let me remind you all about the fucking apology, right, that he did in November 2017. Because I'm kind of trying to figure out, like, one of the things I hate about modern contemporary culture, again, driven by Americans, is that the apology is never enough. The apology is, like, you do something bad, you apologize, and then everybody just watches afterwards going, okay, yeah, but he didn't kill himself, though. I mean, like, he's still trying to have a life, so... But you can't do that. You can't. No. We accept your apology, but you can't ever have a life again. You did a bad thing, and it's like you look at Kevin Hart, like 10-year-old tweets. You can't host the Oscars. He's apologized 3 fucking times, and there's still idiots out there now saying Kevin Hart never apologized. It's like he apologized at the time, 2 years after when he was doing a movie, and he stood down from the Oscars. The Oscars said, you can apologize again, and he said there's no point, because, like, apologies clearly don't do shit, because I've apologized. This idea of, like, this, when you do something wrong in the eyes of the mob, you enter into a permanent state where you are just unclean and you will never be clean. This is one of the most dangerous developments in society. Forget right, left. Forget orange man bad, lock her up. Forget all of those divisions. We now exist in a society where you exist in two states. You are either the puritanical, pure, woke person who will never do anything wrong that you can be caught for in any quantifiable way, or you are unclean and you can never have a life again. No matter what you do, people will bring it up and bring it up and bring it up. Get a new job, they'll just call you new employers. Oh, did you know he did this? It's 20 years ago. Yeah, but he did it. I guess you're right. Guess he can't have a job. Guess nobody can ever grow and learn from our mistakes. That is the most dangerous thing. That is the most dangerous thing that we are perpetuating right now, as in Western society. Don't get me wrong. You'll notice it's not happening in countries where there are other problems, shall we say. But over here, where we live these unbelievable, comfortable lives, and we just spend our entire time navel gazing because we're just rich fucking assholes who just live in unbelievable amounts of decadence compared to the rest of the world. This is what we do. This is what we do. We fucking spend our time creating social leper colonies, and you're never allowed to come back. So let's see. I think Louis C.K. did a pretty good apology, considering these rumors have been around for years. Everybody knew they were true. They were talked about on the Joe Rogan podcast before that. He'd heard these rumors, Everybody knew Louis C.K. jerked off in front of some chicks. I mean, what's crazy is as well, like, Sarah Silverman came out after this apology, like, not that long ago, and said, yeah, Louis C.K. jerked off in front of me. We were good friends. And I said, I don't know. Like, I don't jerk off in front of my friends. Like, it's kind of, I'm weird like that. I got female friends. I got gay friends, people that you could ostensibly have sexual relationships. I just don't jerk off in front of them. I don't know. It just seems weird to me. I've never sat there like, and again, not even my, even what about the guys? I got Moses coming over to stay in a few days' time. Moses is coming out to Vegas. Me and little Momo are gonna fucking hang out. I promise you guys, at no point am I gonna say to Moses, "Hey, I'm thinking I'm gonna, I could use a jerk off. You want to watch? You all right watching me jerk off?" I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna fucking jerk off in front of Momo. I'm just not gonna do it. And it's crazy to me. But anyway, she came out. She fucking did the thing. Here's his apology. These stories are true. At the time, I said to myself that what I did was okay because I never showed a woman my dick without asking first, which is also true. But what I learned later in life, too late, is that when you have power over another person, asking them to look at your dick isn't a question. It's a predicament for them. Exactly what I'm talking about. The power I had over these women is that they admired me, and I wield that power irresponsibly. Louis C.K. went on to say that he is remorseful and has tried to learn from his behavior. There is nothing about this that I forgive myself for, and I have to reconcile it with who I am, which is nothing compared to the task I left them with. The hardest regret to live with is what you've done to hurt someone else. He apologized to the FX Network, the Orchard Production Studio, the cast and crew of his film I Love You, Daddy, all cancelled, all down the tubes. And there you have it, right? That's a pretty good apology. As apologies go, that to me is, even if it's bullshit, it's good. It's the right flavor of bullshit, So I'm all right with that apology. Let's get back to the Daily Beast. Today's report. Apparently, according to them, he jokes about sexually harassing women. Doesn't do that at all. Nowhere in the material. Simple and without a trace of apology, it got a good laugh. It's been a little over a year since C.K. Starr came crashing down. The New York Times published accounts of 5 women who said he masturbated in front of them without their consent. No, not what they reported. C.K. issued a statement confirming those stories are true. Isn't modern journalism, like, hard, guys? Isn't it hard? Do you know what I mean? Isn't it tough? You know, it's tough to just get things right, guys. Like, you know, let me get the New York Times report here. You see, if you look at the original report, which the Daily Beast has failed to do clearly, what it says is Louis C.K. crossed the line into sexual misconduct. 5 women say. You see here at the first, he asked to jerk it off, and he asked for you to take out his penis, and they laughed, and they thought it was a joke and laughed it off, and then he really did it. He then proceeded to take all his clothes off and get completely naked and started masturbating. Right? Then, in 2003, another comedian called Louis C.K. to invite him to one of her shows, and during the phone conversation, she said she could hear him masturbating as they spoke. We can't. He's a big guy. He might have been out of breath. Right? But that isn't masturbating in front of women without their consent. Just saying. And then this one, Rebecca Corey said that while she was in the Louis C.K. on appearing with him in a television pilot in 2005, he asked if he could masturbate in front of her, and she declined. And then he didn't. So, none of that is what the Daily Beast says. None of that is what the Daily Beast says. None of that is what the Daily Beast says. Again, I wonder if they've changed it, because I am looking at an archive. Because as they say, you gotta archive this shit immediately. Because what they do is they publish the most fucking salacious, false version that gets the clicks. Then they just stealth edit it after the fact and pretend they said nothing wrong. So let's have a look at what it is like now. Oh, no, it's still there. They're still saying he masturbated in front of them without their consent. It still says 5 women said that he masturbated in front of them without... I mean, he didn't. Like, it's there in the opening paragraph of the report you're citing.
That's right.
That didn't happen. So, whatever. I mean, you can't expect anything, I guess, from modern journalism. It's too much to ask. It's just too much to ask for the facts anymore, you know. Anyway... his testing the waters attempts at making a comeback, first by appearing at New York's Comedy Cellar in October of 2018, have drawn criticism, protests, and mixed reviews. Audio from a gig last month that included a joke about survivors of the Parkland School Massacre and a one-liner that questioned the masculinity of Asian men sparked outrage. It didn't spark outrage. Nobody in the comedy club was outraged. The audio got leaked, and you sparked the outrage. You, the journalists, who want to use this as a platform to censor other comedians and anyone else not spouting woke bullshit. But waiting in the drizzling rain before the show outside San Jose Improv, fans were quick to forgive CK. Weird, that. Who was one of the world's most beloved comedians before the news of his misconduct broke. They want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't spend a lot of time trying to follow public figures' private lives, said Tiff Ting, who was first in line. Behind Ting was Juan Duran. These names aren't real. Tiff Ting and Juan Duran were queued up with each other, were they? Come on, fuck off. Do you expect me to fucking believe any of this? Tiff Ting and Juan Duran in line with each other. This sounds like a Bernard Manning joke. So fucking Tiff Ting and Juan Duran said he'd been a fan of CK's for years, asked his thoughts on the jacking off incidents. Duran said, I don't know him. It's he said, she said. When it was pointed out CK had admitted everything, Duran shifted gears. Everyone deserves a road to redemption. Ann Horner, 62, was the first protester to show up. 62-year-old protester. Go fucking figure. Boomers. With their fucking signs. You know what I mean? I want to fucking protest your fucking existence. Keep it in your pants, her sign said. Horner said she has experienced both harassment and sexual assault in her life, and that she was here because of CK's harassment of women. It's not okay with me, she said. All right. A young man named Shane, who passed by on his way inside, asked Horner what CK's harassment had to do with his stand-up. Do you think it's funny when people jerk off in front of women, she asked him. No, I think his stand-up is funny. You're all right, Shane. You're all right. What? Who do you think is funny? He asked her. Hannah Gadsby. Have you seen Hannah Gadsby? Have you seen Hannah Gadsby? By the way, she's terrible. Hannah Gadsby, do you know who that is? Shane said yes. She's the one with the least funny special on Netflix, he said. Amy Schumer's The Leather fucking special will give it a run for that'll give it anything a run for its money in terms of comedy vacuum. But fair play, Shane. Based, red-pilled, owned the libs. Libtard owned, Godzilla meme. He's doing it. Hannah Gadsby is terrible. I mean, really terrible. I will admit I haven't watched the special because everything else that she's done is terrible. But seriously, that Amy Schumer leather special is one of the. I forced myself to listen to it. It's so bad. The whole bit like it's not even like that. It can't be funny. It could be funny, but. You ever just smelt your own pussy and it fucking stinks? It's like, oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Like if a guy got up there, you ever get smegma? You just be like, bruh, turn the fucking mic off. That was actually a joke. That was actually a joke, she said. That was actually a joke, like straight up, she actually does that. Like she literally, there was like this weird little pause, and then if I remember rightly, like she just literally, that's the line. You ever smell your own pussy and it just fucking stinks? You're like, I'm sure pussy can get smelly, but like tie it to something, do a bit, like build up, like can't just, you know what I mean? Whatever. She's terrible. Like. Amy Schumer is terrible. And keep in mind, her people fucking complained to Netflix after she got paid for that terrible special, which should never have been a special. They complained to Netflix, and two things happened mysteriously afterwards. First of all, now she's getting paid more when her special's garbage and she's not funny. And they also removed the customer review function because the leather special was one of the lowest rated things on Netflix, and it was just like, I'm a woman. Yes, my pussy does smell sometimes, but this just isn't funny. It was just reviews like that. They just 1-star reviews, and then they just got rid of it. Amy Schumer is the fucking comedy. I can't even. The analogy out of my head isn't Twitch appropriate. It doesn't matter. She's not funny. There you go. We'll leave it there. Anyway, so Ann Horner, the 62-year-old sociologist, has worked with women who've survived domestic violence. Females being treated as second-class citizens is in the fiber of the culture. Most men don't get it, she said, because it's like fish in water. They don't see it. After most of the audience had filtered into the theatre, a group of about 30 or more protesters gathered out front, marching and shouting, "Shame!" and "Hey, hey, ho, ho, Louis C.K. has got to go." Of course they did that chant, didn't they? Of course they did that chant. These fucking people, dude. This fucking chant. Listen. This is a comedic bit, okay? This isn't real. I don't really think this. But if I was ever in power, anyone chanting a variant of the hey-ho chant would be killed. It wouldn't even be courts. We would have squads of police just going around and hey, hey, ho, ho, and they would just be like, and they would just be Judge Dredd. Like, the sentence is death. Now, I think pretty rapidly you would solve a lot of society's problems if you did that. Just a joke. Would never advocate for a police state. Obviously, I'm about personal freedom. But if you did, this is the bit again. This is the joke again, Twitch. If you did have to advocate for a police state, that'd be a pretty good basis on which to advocate for it, right? Police have no other authoritative powers except they can kill anyone doing the hey ho chant. Wouldn't that be nice? Just a joke. Just joking. Just let that percolate in your brain. Oh, mate. It's a matter of time before I get banned on Twitch. I'm in peace with it. As long as I get past this next No Majors Club, I'm alright. Matter of time. All of the friends I had in Twitch are all out of the company, like one by one. They're just like, wait. You call them up. I got this problem. Is Twitch friend number 1 there? Nope. What about Twitch friend number 2? No, he left too. What about Twitch friend number 3? She's no longer with us. Are any of the Twitch friends there? No, we're slowly becoming just another offshoot of Amazon, and actually anyone endemic to the community is out, and instead you've got corporate overlords and a bunch of woke dickheads. All right, no problem. Thanks, Twitch. Yep, see you later. Yep, make sure you keep banning those edgy streamers. No problem. Bye. Anyway, that's the Daily Beast article talking about his latest routine. Now, what put Louis C.K., what propelled him back into the mainstream, because everyone's been talking about him? Well, there was this leaked set. And here's the thing. I can't actually play the set because Louis C.K. himself, or rather his production company, but also it's his name that comes up. He is very aggressively pursued taking this down. There's a variety of reasons for this. First of all, again, you have to understand that when you are a successful comedian, what you do is, and George Carlin talked about this. There's some great interviews with George Carlin about this. He talked a lot about the business of comedy in a lot of his interviews, where he was very frank and candid about it. George Carlin was someone that used to just put out amazing specials every year. Every year he would come up with enough material worthy of a special, put it out, sell it, boom, next year special. Because George Carlin was one of the greats. He was a fucking genius. And where George Carlin really kicked it up a gear is when he got older and he realized he was staring down the barrel of, eternity. That's when he really knocked it up a notch and he went crazy. If you go watch some of his later stuff, like You Are All Diseased or It's Bad For You, or even his later comedy was unbelievable, and he stopped giving a fuck. And when he did interviews, he would just talk candidly about a lot of stuff. So if you're interested in the business of comedy, there's George Carlin interviews you can find on YouTube, and you can watch them. But anyway, so how it works is, when you're a comedian, you can't just keep saying the same shit forever. You have to go away, work on some stuff, and then you come back and you do unannounced sets. You turn up. I saw this recently actually with another great British comedian that people probably don't know. He's probably a little bit older for you guys, but he was definitely an influence on me. When I wanted to be a comedian, the people who influenced me, there was obviously Billy Connolly, because Billy Connolly was a working class Scottish comedian. There was a lot of overlap with the things he was talking about, even though he started out as a folk singer. And then, as I said, there was first time we had TV, I used to stay up late at night and watch the Just for Laughs festival. Used to get put on Channel 4 late at night. I discovered Bill Hicks and there were lots of other comedians. I mean, Bill Hicks was very much a law to himself. You immediately understood how good he was. But Sam Kinison was another one. As I was growing up, that was a very cognizant of his delivery and his structure and the things he would talk about. But anyway, what you do is you go out and you have to write material. You cannot just churn out the same stuff over and over again. So you do small spots, unannounced spots, and you come out and you try stuff and you see what works. So this is where I've written I've written 50 minutes of jokes. I'm going to just read them out. And I remember I watched Jasper Carrott do this. Jasper Carrott is the great forgotten British comedian. Jasper Carrott, I saw him in a comedy club in Birmingham. It was an unannounced gig. I'd gone to see, I can't remember who the fuck it was. Bunch of people. But yeah, Jasper Carrott came out. And he was old and he looked really sick because he is getting on in years. But I love Jasper Carrott. It was like one of the greatest. It was one of the greatest fucking things because I'd never had a chance to see him live. I was always too young, and then he had his own BBC TV series. But he came out and he was doing bits, and it wasn't great material, but some of it was funny, and his delivery was still on point. And you know, he was obviously going to try and do another BBC special or a BBC appearance, and you could see. Even to the point, you know, you understand he was checking stuff off and seeing what worked, and he was very open with the crowd. He was going, "Well, you didn't like that? You didn't like that? Okay," and then we move on to the next bit. No, and you could see he was creating a mental checklist of what works. So when you're a comedian, when you're a gigging comedian, you go out there and you have to write new material, and then you got to test the new material. You don't just go straight into a special. You don't just say, I mean, that honestly looks like what Amy Schumer did. You don't just go straight into a special and go, listen, I've got an hour of jokes. I'm just going to do the hour of jokes. Is that all right with you, HBO? And HBO go, yeah, no problem. You're super funny. I'm sure it's going to be great. And you go out and you use all your untested material, and it's garbage. And it's like, oh, my God, like 15 minutes of that set was funny, you know? You can't do it that way. So you have to test it out. So you test it on audiences and you see which bits work, and you tweak bits and you change bits and you refine bits, or you just straight cut bits. You just get rid of it. You just get rid of stuff, and then you write some more, and then you think, oh, I'll put this stuff in a set. So when Louis C.K. came back, none of this is meant to be reflective of what his next special is going to sound like. He's trying out new bits. That's all he's doing. He is beyond being a gigging comedian. I guarantee you that first set he did when he walked out in New York in the fucking Comedy Cellar, he fucking it was for free. He wasn't getting paid. He wanted to test out his material and get back on the horse. That's all that was going on. So it's not even reflective of who he is as a person or anything like that. That's all that's going on. These people. So I understand why he would want to remove evidence of the material from the internet, but equally as well, the fact that people got all bent out of shape by this material, fucking stupid, because it's not even necessarily material he's going to have carrying forward, and you would only have heard it if you were in that club on that night without even knowing Louis C.K. was going to be there. And that's how comedy has worked. If you understand comedy, if you've been around comedy, that's literally the gig. That's how it works. So anyone writing about this should know about it. But anyway, so he did these jokes. Let me tell you what the jokes were, and again, you can assess whether these are funny or not. All right, I thought the set was pretty funny. The bits I didn't like were pretty obvious. So he did a bit about pronouns, and he said that because he identifies as a place, you have to call him where. And he said, and the place is your mother's cunt. And I thought that kind of ruined the joke, and I wouldn't have put that line in if I was doing it. I think identifying as a place is absurd enough, and you can just let the joke hang there. He also did a bit about... I mean, it is kind of his style. I've always noticed with Louis, he does have these bits where he goes like just a little bit too far, and he strays into like... It's not. It ceases to be funny, but it's like it's just offensive, and it's like it's not. It's only funny because of what came before it, if you know what I mean. But he goes. He says. He said, these people tell you have to use specific pronouns. They're like royalty. They tell you what to call them. You should address me as they, them, because I identify as gender neutral. Okay, you should address me as there, because I identify as a location. And the location is your mother's cunt. So that was the bit. And, you know, and I think everything up until the mother's cunt line is pretty fucking funny. But, then he talked about the kids that survived the Parkland shooting. And obviously, I've talked about David Hogg on the podcast, right? Like, I understand he went through a trauma and he's trying to synthesize it into something good, but once you become a public figure, you should be subject to ridicule. And that fucking guy is a fucking joke. And obviously, his activism has even allowed him to get into a good fucking college, despite having a grade point average that wouldn't get him in there. And this is all provable, you know. But if you say Orange Man bad, nothing matters. I think they're all fucking weird. You know, it's like fucking Village of the fucking Damned, you know? But whatever, like David Hogg and those guys, you know, they're talking like they're an authority on something. Like, real talk is what happened. Some cunt came into your fucking school. Your school was equipped to deal with it, by the way. But some fucking pussy ass bitch, armed guard, who is meant to take out active shooters, was too fucking scared to come in and do his job and stayed outside waiting for backup. That's problem number one that went down with that. And obviously, schools aren't necessarily all that secure, you know. So, but put it this way: I think surviving a mass shooting doesn't give you any more insight into why these things happen and how we can stop them any more than if you survived a plane crash would qualify you to be in the cockpit. That's my take on it. I think that's a reasonable take. I think surviving a tragedy doesn't make you an expert on the causes and preventions of that tragedy. So that's my opinion on it. But we had to listen to these kids. And listen, if these kids need to iron some shit out and talk about their experiences, I wouldn't begrudge them that, because what they went through is unbelievably harsh and traumatic. And I don't even have a problem. If I saw David Hogg, I'd probably buy him a drink. But I would definitely... Is he old enough to drink? I'd buy him a drink if he's old enough. And I'd definitely also say to him, like, yo, but just zip it with the politics, yeah? You know? We can sit and have a beer, but... Yep. Zip it. So the other bit he did was talking about those kids who went through the fucking Parkland shooting. And he said here... He goes... They testify in front of Congress, these kids. What are they doing? You're young. You should be crazy. You should be unhinged. Not in a suit. You're not interesting. What, you're interesting because you went to a high school where kids got shot? Why does that mean I have to listen to you? You didn't get shot. You pushed some fat kid in the way. What, now I got to listen to you talking? So, these two jokes, for some reason... upset the general public. This is a comedian who has a history of being a shocking comedian and saying shocking stuff, and he said some outrageous things. We're going to show you some of his material. But anyway, how do you think this got reported? We'll go back to the Daily Beast. The Daily Beast has a hard-on for Louis C.K., evidently. Let's have a look. I've just read you the two contentious jokes that they talk about in this report. Louis C.K.'s leaked comedy set panders to the alt-right. The alt-right, guys. The alt-right. Just a reminder, in case you've not been keeping up with politics in modern America, the alt-right, although the term was originally coined to describe a new wave of tech-savvy young conservatives that and Republicans that had nothing in common with traditional conservatives and Republicans, or rather little in common with some of the traditional viewpoints of conservative Republicans. It got hijacked by white nationalists like Richard Spencer, popularized by them. The media saw an attempt to incriminate people like Steve Bannon as being a white nationalist when he isn't, because he'd used the term in the past. And then the media propagated the idea that the alt-right was originally a white supremacist and racist movement. It wasn't. In fact, if I remember rightly, the guy who coined the term alt-right was a Jewish professor. But anyway, everybody had to accept it, and now the alt-right literally describes new wave white nationalism, people who believe in an ethno-state. What in those two jokes would appeal to the alt-right? And also, as well, the framing of Louis C.K., one of the most liberal comedians, like all comedians are liberal, I'm going to demonstrate that. Framing him as having even the tiniest tie to the alt-right is not only just irresponsible, it's completely inaccurate, and there is no evidence that would bear it out. Certainly not even in that material. So, Okay, Louis C.K. panders to the alt-right. Everybody else was picking up on this shit. Louis C.K. panders to the alt-right. That's Daily Beast. Hill reporter. Louis C.K. panders to alt-right and attacks the Parkland students and leaked stand-up routine. He did just say he didn't want to have to listen to them. I think that's fair enough. What about UK Business Insider? Well, what do you say? UK Business Insider, again, tunneled in on these two jokes of a 40-minute set. I listened to the whole thing when it was up on YouTube. This is UK Business Insider. When it comes up, UK Business Insider headline said Louis C.K. mocks non-binary people and school shooting survivors in leaked comedy set. What about Slate? Slate, and there you go. People, and also as well, you'll notice the media do this all the time. People are accusing Louis C.K. of being alt-right. No, you are. You, the media, you're doing it. Your friends in the media, Lindsay Dodgson, don't pretend you haven't talked to anybody else. You are labeling him in the alt-right, and now you're writing and saying people are doing it. They're not people, they're journalists, modern journalists. I'm sorry, you're really struggling to look like three-dimensional people these days when you knowingly propagate lies despite working in an industry that you have pledged not to do that in. Whatever, we'll move on. What about Slate? Here's nighttime mode Slate because of all its ads. Slate, the publication that used to have Christopher Hitchens write for them. What would Slate, by the way, say about Christopher Hitchens now? Isn't that mad, isn't it? I can go on Slate and I can read Christopher Hitchens' old articles. What would Slate say about Christopher Hitchens now if he hadn't ever written for Slate? Right? Audio of new Louis C.K. set is leaked and it's sickening. It's sickening. Moral hysteria. It's sickening. It's sickening, I tell you. Huffington Post. Night mode again for you because of all the ads. Shit, I can't even...
Es la venta total de Silverado. Obtén un valor total de 10,250 en esta Silverado.
This is
al
nice.
Financiar...
Makes me feel like I'm in fucking Narcos. Sí. 2 kilos. Tranquilo. No, it means calm. 2 kilos, por favor. El Presidente. Tropico 6 will be out soon. Play that on stream. Anyway, and you can see what they did here. They found some people tweeting out. He's a right-wing comic now. He's Milo Yiannopoulos. Like, okay. I'm listening to the leaked Louis set, and it's very clear he's just going to tour red states for the rest of his life to rapturous crowds like Trump. There it is, everyone. Didn't take long. They compared him with Trump. There it is. Great game. Say that game on the radio. Mornington Crescent. Great game. He's like Trump. Brilliant. Orange Man is bad. Great game. So anyway, you can see they basically compiled all of the tweets. Look at this. Louis C.K. has a leaked set, and it's the definition of bad writing and punching down. The plea for relevance really gives the whole 2 minutes a sour undertone. Oh, you only listened to 2 minutes? Because it was a fucking 45 fucking minute leaked set. Okay, no problem. Sorry, dude, but the red light means your time is officially up. All right, Emma Smith, I'm sure you were really a big proponent. Then you get stuff like this, obviously verified Twitter madness, all the blue ticks are out. This is disgusting, offensive, insensitive, inappropriate, and just wrong. So I'm just going to tag David Hogg and all the other Parkland survivor shooters in it real quick. Let them listen to it, right? The only people that could legitimately have an argument to be offended by it. We're going to link them in, right? Louis C.K. even trying for a comeback is crap, so he apparently can never come back to comedy. But him mocking the Parkland survivors is beyond despicable. Why? Why are they subject to ridicule? Is there some special fucking thing? All right, okay, no problem. There is no comedy there at all. Definitely is. For example, 4chan made a weird version of David Hogg, a transgender version of David Hogg called Daisy Hogg, who is strangely attractive. That is funny to me, that there's a bunch of people who hate the libs fucking who'd like to have sex with Daisy Hogg. I don't know. Okay, fine. Guess I can't laugh about that, though. That's not a problem. Louis C.K.'s new set apparently has a section attacking non-binary people. Yes. Here's what I'll say. I know non-binary people exist. They're infinitesimally small. There's a very, very tiny subsection. If you are indeed hermaphroditic or non-sexual, again, there are syndromes and genetic conditions that exist. I have no problem with you not even assigning yourself mentally a gender. That's fine. If you're just one of these people at school who fucking did it for attention, I'm not playing your game. Sorry, not playing your game. Not playing your game. If you wake up one day and you say, today I am mummy, and then tomorrow you're daddy, you're trying to get attention. That isn't medical. That isn't scientific. That's an attention-seeking ploy. It has nothing to do with transgenderism. Frankly, it's insulting. You would even try and hitch that particular wagon to transgenders who legitimately do go through some shit. Richard Lewis ain't playing your games. Not playing your games. So I'm sorry, what Louis C.K. said is funny and accurate. He thinks it's wrong to use they as a singular pronoun. I, on the other hand, think it's wrong to sexually assault people, which you never did, Emily C. Heath, no problem. But you are right, it is wrong to do that too. Actually, I go as far as to say it's more wrong, but, you know, whatever. That Louis C.K. audio isn't even edgy. It's an old conservative ranting about how in his day no one was woke and things were great. That's Nathaniel Friedman and Jeremy Wine. Hey, Louis C.K. is someone who was an alumni of that high school in Parkland that got shot and this year is leaving 17 students and faculty dead. Fuck you and your fucking comedy. All right, mate. So let's have a look at this. It's interesting, isn't it, that they are talking about Louis C.K. as being alt-right and conservative. Because this is how you expose morons. There is absolutely no way on God's green earth that you could label Louis C.K. conservative, right-wing, alt-right, nothing like that. It was quite interesting as well because they reported in this publication, if it's going to come up, but this is over in IndieWire, they actually said that his surprise return when he first came out actually prompted walkouts in the Comedy Cellar in New York City. Now, I don't doubt some people did walk out. I mean, that's par for the course with any comedy act, by the way. But you can see, look, when he came out, a few women walked out. He didn't address the Me Too allegations against him because he is nothing to do with Me Too. He was a little arrogant. He made some comment like, I've been off for a while because everyone needs a break. And they reported that. But let's have a look at the history of Louis C.K., right? Louis C.K., alt-right or conservative? Interesting theory. Because the guy I know, the Louis C.K. I know, has always been unbelievably liberal in all of his politics. Let's just have a look what he said recently about Donald Trump, shall we? So, because again, remember, the alt-right love Donald Trump, right? I mean, this is what the media tell you, that Donald Trump has empowered white racists and everything else. So let's have a look. What Louis C.K. must have had to expressed some admiration for Donald Trump or whatever. I mean, again, this isn't what I think, but this is the narrative that the mainstream press have conjured up, right? So let's have a look. Okay, what's he said? Hang on. Oh. Louis C.K. wants a conservative president. Oh, no, I don't want to answer this survey, though. Can I skip this survey? Thank you. Louis C.K. wants a conservative president, but calls Donald Trump Hitler. Interesting. So, and he said, I'm not advocating for Hillary or Bernie. I like them both. I wish the next president was a conservative only because we had Obama for 8 years and we need balance, and not because I particularly enjoy the conservative agenda. I just think the government should reflect the people, and we are about 40% conservative and 40% liberal. When I was growing up, when I was a younger man, liberals and conservatives were friends with differences. They weren't enemies, and it always made sense that everyone gets a president they like for a while and then hates the president for a while. But it only works if the conservatives put up a good candidate, a good smart conservative to face of the liberal candidate, so they can have a good argument and the country can decide which way to go this time. Don't vote for Trump. He's not one of you. So this is before the jerk-off stories back in 2016. So wait, so Louis C.K. didn't like Donald Trump. He called Donald Trump Hitler. And, okay, well, what else has he said about Donald Trump, this alt-right comedian. That's a nice little advertisement. Big fan of that. We're gonna go. Well, in this report, that is definitely about to come up real soon. Definitely going to happen because XSplit's great. Let me tell you, he also said that he considers, this is in Variety, he says Donald Trump is an insane bigot. An insane bigot. Now, again, this is the mainstream media narrative. Come on, Variety, you can do it. Oh, lordy lord. Variety really does fuck around with its ads. Well, listen, let me see if I can just bring this up for you. And I'll read it to you while we're staring at the next split black screen. Yeah, as opposed to a sane bigot, right? Which obviously don't exist. Oh, here we go. It's already been archived. It was archived a year ago, and because it's Variety, it doesn't even archive properly. Good job, Variety. Big fan of your website. Here we go. Louis C.K. compares Donald Trump to Hitler, says he's an insane bigot, does a big rant. We shouldn't have to vote. We shouldn't have to vote for someone because they're not a shocking cunt billionaire liar. We should choose because on what direction the country should go. If you're a true conservative, don't vote for Trump. He's not one of you. He is one of him. Everything you've heard him say that you liked, if you look hard enough, you will see that he one day said...
If this were like most food commercials, we'd need to bring in a big truck with lots of lights, cameras, and equipment and hire an actor to play a farmer so we can get the perfect shot.
Please stop, dude. Right, okay. So, there you go. So that's Louis C.K. and Donald Trump. I mean, that doesn't sound like something the alt-right would say. Now, if you're like me and you've been a fan of Louis for a while and you watched his TV series, let's talk about Louis C.K.'s TV show. Louis C.K. had a TV series called Louis, and in it, he has two daughters, and they're representative of his real-life daughters, although they are not played by his real-life daughters. And they are blonde with blue eyes. And obviously, he's a ginger. He's a redhead. With I think hazel eyes, and his wife is black with brown eyes and black hair. So you're like, wait a minute. If there's one thing I know about the alt-right, okay, and I don't know much about the alt-right. I don't traffic in those circles, don't talk to them, don't like racists. But if there's one thing I do know about the alt-right, they have a thing, don't they, about people having interracial relationships and sex? Aren't they all about the white race and preserving the white race? I mean, that's like a typical Nazi talking point, right? So here's Louis talking about why they did that deliberately. I may have to archive this as well because it looks like it's gonna fucking be in weird night where you've got too many. Oh no, here it is. So here's why Louis C.K.'s kids are white, but their mother is black in Louis. There's one mystery on the FX show, and again, this is way before the controversy. This is 2014. There's one mystery on the FX show, Louis, that has never really been addressed. While Louis' ex-wife Janet is played by black Jamaican actress Susan Kalichi Watson, his two daughters are very white, very blonde little girls. Despite leaving viewers guessing about the backstory of this relationship, the race issue has never been fully explained in the show. They never talk about it. It's literally just she plays the mother, they play his daughters, he plays himself. And apparently that's intentional. He said, we play around with ethnicities. Janet is African-American, but both of the kids are white, and Louis is white, so how does that work? Look, it probably doesn't make sense, but Louis wanted to cast someone to play his on-screen wife who was unlike his real ex-wife. He didn't want that much reality in this show. So, we auditioned people African-American and white. We auditioned both. We didn't limit ourselves, blah, blah, blah. So here's the thing. If you're Louis C.K. and you're in charge of your own TV show and you're a racist and you're alt-right, why would you cast your on-TV show white
The
as
alt-right
black?
is all about preserving the white race, but they also jerk off to Asian women so they can't get anything fully correct with themselves.
But why would you do that? Why would, again, you're racist, you're conservative, you're alt-right, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Makes no sense. Doesn't align with the alt-right ideology. Oh, that's right, you just fucking made it up. You just made it up. So, and just to put the nail in the coffin, any idea that Louis C.K. is even conservative, which he isn't, go back, watch any of his specials. I'm going to play you a clip from, he did a special called Chewed Up in 2008. So unless he got very radically racist and alt-right over the past few years. I think this is still representative of who he is politically. And he's going to talk about something I don't even necessarily agree with, and that is the prospect of white privilege. And he does it in a very funny way. And even though I disagree with the central premise at the heart of the comedy, I can acknowledge the bit is funny. And there is, of course, an element of truth to it. So I'm going to play you this bit. You tell me if this sounds like something a conservative or an alt-right member would say. It's 2.5 minutes. Let's just listen.
Sorry I'm being so negative. I'm a bummer. I don't know. I shouldn't be. I'm a very, lucky guy. I got a lot going for me. I'm healthy. I'm relatively young. I'm white, which thank God for that shit, boy. That is a huge leg up. Are you kidding me? Oh, God, I love being white. I really do. Seriously, if you're not white, you're missing out because this shit is thoroughly good. But let me be clear, by the way. I'm not saying that white people are better. I'm saying that being white is clearly better. Who could even argue? If it was an option, I would re-up every year. Oh, yeah, I'll take white again. Absolutely. I've been enjoying that. I'm going to stick with white. Thank you. Here's how great it is to be white. I could get in a time machine and go to any time, and it would be fucking awesome when I get there. That is exclusively a white privilege. Black people can't fuck with time machines. A black guy in a time machine is like, hey, anything before 1980, no thank you, I don't want to go. But I can go to any time. The year 2, I don't even know what's happening then. But I know when I get there, welcome, we have a table right here for you, sir. Oh, thank you. No, it's lovely here in the year 2. I can go to any time. In the past, I don't want to go to the future and find out what happens to white people because we're going to pay hard for this shit. You got to know that. We're not going to just fall from number 1 to 2. They're going to hold us down and fuck us in the ass forever. And we totally deserve it. But for now, whee! Now, if you're white and you don't admit that it's great, you're an asshole. It is great. And I'm a man. How many advantages could one person have? I'm a white man. You can't even hurt my feelings. What can you really call a white man that really digs deep? Hey, cracker. Oh, ruined my day. Boy, shouldn't have called me a cracker. Bringing me back to owning land and people. What a drag.
Right, so does this sound, right, like a fucking conservative alt-right member, by the way? Does it? And it's a really well-crafted bit. You don't have to agree with it. This is the other thing. If you go into comedy thinking, I need to agree with the fucking comedian, you know, like non-stop, right? Like, I got to agree with everything the fucking comedian says, all of his political outlook. It's great delivery. There's a kernel of truth at the heart of the bit, right? Obviously, you know, like, there are definitely elements of fucking human history in the past that black people can go to, and it's fine. You know, but, like, forget that. It's just a funny fucking bit, and it highlights the current, you know, inequalities we've had in recent history, predominantly in American society, right? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with this bit at all. If you are telling me that material like this would come out of a conservative guy's mouth, a right-wing guy's mouth, a fucking alt-right member's mouth, I do not know what to tell you. He doesn't sound like fucking Sam Hyde, right? You know? It is insane. Yeah, there you go. People in the chat. I didn't agree with you about John Wick. Why have they made a third John Wick movie? I can't handle it, mate. John Wick is fucking terrible. It is the worst franchise of all time. It shouldn't be a franchise. Everything about it is terrible. But anyway, how many dogs can one dude have? Yeah, good to see you, by the way, Lola. I got a sneaking suspicion I'm going to see you in a few days too out in Vegas, so I can't wait for that. Don't think we need to cross our fingers. I think it's more like we just sign a bit of paper and we're all good. But seriously, how are they getting away with labeling that guy alt-right? It's so dumb. And again, this all ties into what you've got to fucking remember, and it's coming to the end of the stream for me. I'm gonna go eat some fucking ice cream cake and unwind and contemplate about why my immune system is collapsing in on me. But how do they do that? How do they get away with that? Why is that all right? Why is that okay? It's not okay, is it? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You're taking a guy who is obviously doing some reprehensible stuff, like I said, but you don't have to pile it on. And this is what you have to remember. The journalists, they're a cartel. They are a cartel. They literally will go after anybody that they do not consider politically aligned with them, and they will use and abuse. And the clue, by the way, is in the term. One of the reasons they want you to stop using the term social justice is because it implies that regular justice will not do, that there must be some social justice. And once you start analyzing that term and what it means you must abuse any power you have, that you hold. Rules be damned, ethics be damned, because if you don't, and you hold social capital or have social currency, you're part of the problem. You are not allowing social justice to happen, because natural justice will not occur. There must be a form of social justice. That's why they don't want you to use that term. The journalists abuse their platform and power every day to go after anyone they deem bad. And unfortunately, I was supposed to say like 90% of journalistic output is nonsense like this. How is Louis C.K. a member of the alt-right? How is he pandering to the alt-right? Finding neutral pronouns absurd is not pandering to the alt-right. It's what the majority of people think. Not you, straight from college into a media job. Not you. The majority of people think that way. Mocking the Parkland shooting survivors, why are they off limits? Explain it to me. Oh, right. They're fresh out of college and they support woke politics. And they want to take American people's guns away because they had a bad experience with guns. In the same way that, like, again, I've talked about it, when shit gets close to you, you have a real interesting take on it, don't you? Survive a plane crash. We need to do something about the aeronautical industry and make it safer. It's like, it's one of the safest ways to travel ever, and it's getting safer year upon year. That's what all the statistics say. But I had a bad experience. Yeah, we know. We get it. It sucks. It's absurd, and I don't think a comedian mining clearly absurd things for laughs, pretty much what they do for a living. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who thinks about Alzheimer's? Who thinks about Alzheimer's until they got to nurse somebody through Alzheimer's? Who thinks about, you don't really think about shit. Like, listen, even stuff we're all gonna get, right? Like, okay. Probably 2/3 of you are going to get either a heart problem or cancer. It's 2/3. It's one or the other. How often do you think about that shit? You probably got friends who've had relatives who died of cancer. You might even have relatives yourself who died of cancer, but they were a bit distant, so you weren't direct there to have to nurse them through it, watch them have the chemo, watch them wither away. So you're not thinking about that. Cancer's bad. But trust me, when it's you or someone you care about, you're going to have a real much more militant view about it. That's natural, by the way. You're not a bad person for being like that. But it's just it's just human nature. When you're separated from stuff, you're separated from stuff. So we all make edgy jokes about stuff all the time, don't we? We all make edgy jokes, right? And okay, 3 people in a room. We're making edgy jokes. We're having banter. We're going back and forth. Me like, yeah. All right, one guy. Well, if that was me, I'd just kill myself. And then somebody go, well, actually, my father killed himself, so I'm a bit sensitive about that. Can you not joke about that? And then they go, actually, I think when you start joking about suicide, it's very cancerous. And then someone goes, well, I lost my mother to cancer. And it's like, listen, guys, we get it, right? Everybody dies. Everyone's got trauma. Everyone's got shit. You just gotta let some shit fucking slide. You're not so fucking special that you're fucking precious. Your existence needs to be the be-all. And everybody has to fucking, operate purely on a level of fucking appease your fucking feelings, you know? It just doesn't work like that. Like, trust me, you got to put your foot in it sometime. You're going to make a joke about something, and somebody's going to come up to you and go, oh, that really upset me. And you're going to go, listen, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Obviously, I won't make that joke again around you, but, like, you know, you ain't got no fucking right to tell me what I can and can't say or what I can and can't think. I'm sorry if you had some shit times, but we all have. You don't know about my shit. How many times have you said stuff that should have pissed me off? It's just fucking dumb. Everybody died of something, and we all know people who died. So, you know, you can't use that to limit what we can and can't say, what we can and can't joke about. And I think you got to be a real piece of shit to fucking take you and all the things that upset you and make you sad, and then, like, spit that out and project it so everybody else has to be, like, a tessellating dialogue based around the jags of your fucking sorry feelings. Like, nah, that's an awful way to live. That's an awful way to live. I got plenty of shit that, you know, alone, privately, let you wrestle with it, but I go out. If I hear somebody saying stuff and it, you know, whatever, like, it's fine. Just keep that shit to yourself.